Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, where Major League and Minor League athletic trainers share insight into athletic training at the highest level. This week on Inside Athletic Training, we sat down with Ryan DiPanfilo, head athletic trainer for the Arizona Diamondbacks and one of the youngest head athletic trainers in Major League Baseball history. Enjoy the show. All right, Ryan, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. We are thrilled to have you on for episode 4. We like to start each show by asking our guests to share a little bit of information about the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, also known as PBATS, and what the society has meant to you and your career as an athletic trainer.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me on. It's quite an honor. So appreciate the invite and you thinking about me. PBATS is, my goodness. I mean, I think all of us who are active in the profession right now, currently, I think we're all indebted to PBATS and how the society has played such a massive role, the advancement of athletic trainers and pro baseball and beyond. So, when I think of PBATS, I just think about all the blood, sweat, and tears that from the founding organizers sacrificed all those years ago so that the new generations like us, we can flourish. To put it simply too, I think PBATS to me is really about education and it's about service. If I had to put it down as simply as possible. And those two concepts there are, such a big deal because it's really about giving back to the membership and then promoting athletic training, especially professional baseball and beyond through education and of its members and through service to them above and beyond. So, and I think beyond that, it's really our calling as the current generation to continue to uphold that vision and mission of PBATS and continue to advance the progression, to continue to advance the profession to the next generation. So that's what it means to me.
And staying on the topic of PBATS quickly, you're currently the head athletic trainer representative for the National League on the PBATS executive board. Can you talk a bit more about that role and what that means to you as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's such an opportunity for me, I think, to do my part in the service of PBATS and whatever is needed. So I always never want, and you know me well enough, Sam, I never want to be the guy that has all these opinions on how things should be, but never get on the court and try to make a difference with those. That's not who I am. So, so this is an opportunity being a NL, head trainer representative, which was, super grateful for. Just be able to represent the NL head ATs across the league, and many of whom have been in this game way longer than I have. So I just feel honored to be able to even just be in that role, but just to be a conduit of communication for them, help organize, promote educational opportunities that can showcase the many great ATs we have in the game, and do whatever I can, simply put, to just represent them well and to be able to serve PBATS. And I surely never take that for granted. And I feel lucky and fortunate even just to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it's absolutely a great group of guys kind of leading the charge on the PBATS board, but kind of shifting gears a bit to what you do every day. You're currently the head athletic trainer for the Arizona Diamondbacks, a position obviously with huge responsibility within the organization. Before we get into kind of the details about that role, I'd love for our listeners to learn more about your background and what paths led you to where you are today with the Diamondbacks. So if we can, let's take it back a bit to the beginning. Anyone that knows you well knows your roots are strongly tied to Boston and you love the city. But for the listeners, can you talk more about, your upbringing, where you're from? Were you an athlete growing up? And also where you found your passion for athletic training and sports medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always a little bit uncomfortable trying to talk about myself there. So I'll give it a best shot. But I think, my roots were, as you mentioned, Boston area. So I grew up in Saugus, Massachusetts, which is close to the city, just north of it. And I had, growing up, I was mainly played baseball when I was younger, till about high school. And then I've always been a basketball player as well. And I played basketball through high school. So I was always involved in athletics in some shape or form. And it probably similar story to most. It was injured quite a bit, and that's kind of what put me down the path of, first exposure to an athletic trainer was at the high school, and just kind of seeing how that particular individual went about their job and what they were serving the athletes at the school, and I thought it was pretty cool. And being in the athletics background, and then obviously dealing with the body and the sciences, it really was piqued interest. So, from that point in time, when I had to choose what I wanted to study going into college, it was that really piqued my interest. And once I got into athletic training, studying that at Springfield College, it was the first couple of years. It was just starting to learn the basics of the profession. And I think that the thing I can accurately say is that every step of the way of that curriculum at Springfield College, which is where I went, it really, I learned more, and it was more intriguing toward me. So by the time I was done with school, I was like, man, this is, I like this. This is really cool. And this type of field, and I really find I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy learning what I need to learn to be really good in this field. And I found my passion there each year of that curriculum. So, and then from there, it was coming out of school. Had lucky enough to be able to land the position with the Diamondbacks, which has its own backstory of itself. I'm not sure if how much time we go into that, but just really briefly, we had Ken Crenshaw coincided with Ken Crenshaw being coming over from Tampa when he was the head trainer there to being the head trainer with the Diamondbacks, and I had just come out of school, and he had been looking to hire some new positions. And the funny thing was my fiance at the time, my now wife, her dad, so my father-in-law now, always stayed in contact with Ken, and their roots trace back all the way back to New Mexico, the small little town. My father-in-law coached Ken in basketball in high school. So he they stayed in touch over the years. And when Ken was looking to fill a role, he had contacted my father-in-law, and my father was like, well, my daughter's dating this athletic trainer. I don't know if he's any good or not, but he reads a lot. So try his name. And luckily I interviewed, and he took a step back because he didn't want to do any favors there. And luckily they brought me aboard the Diamondbacks, and it's been, since then it's been a unbelievable experience.
Yeah, that's a wild story, and really just shows how small of a world it is about you getting your start in baseball.
For sure.
So during your time with the Diamondbacks, we'll jump into that. You've worked with some awesome athletic trainers throughout your career. You mentioned Ken Crenshaw, who is an absolute legend in the profession and oversees sports medicine for your club. In addition to Ken, who were some of the role models you looked up to in the field of athletic training, and specifically those that may have showed you the ropes along your way up to the big leagues?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ken's obviously been the largest influence, and I think many who have been lucky enough to cross paths with him probably can say similar. But I mean, there were so many teammates I've learned from, and I wouldn't be here without their help and support along the way. And I'm a firm believer. I don't think anyone gets anywhere without help in some form or in some way or another from somebody else. So some of the names that pop out over the years, like Nate Shaw, who's been our he's our head, lucky enough to work with him. He's our head strength coach over here. PJ Mainville, who's the director of sports medicine performance with the Cubs. He was a big role model. He was my first medical coordinator once I first got into baseball, and learned a lot from him. Neil Ramp was he's with PJ now with the Cubs. I mean, he's been formerly with the Dodgers. He was a phenomenal role model. Brett McCabe, strength conditioning coach now with the Yankees. Those are just some names that pop out. I mean, there's so many other ones that have along the way. The Kyle Torgelsons with Seattle, Ryan Eubanks with the Tigers. I learned from all my teammates, everybody across the way, and I just feel super fortunate without that. Jimmy Southard, Andrew Hauser, names like that. I've spent a lot of quality time with them over the years, and they've always taught me some things along the way, and I'm super grateful for them and their friendship. And I'm probably leaving out a bunch of names, and apologize to those I left out.
No, and you talked about those people who were on your team, never battling against them, always kind of working together for that advice and a common goal. So you obviously have gathered a ton of information from mentors, but on the other side of things, what advice would you give to college students who are looking to break into the game of baseball? I know you have a kind of unique story, with your family connections, but what would you tell those people looking to, maybe it's a PBATS internship or just any start in baseball? What's the best advice you could provide for those students?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And my path was atypical for sure. So I wouldn't rely on having some kind of long connection with the way I had, but I think the question that comes up to me when I want to respond to that is anybody that's looking to get into baseball. It's really the question wants to be how much you willing to sacrifice to get what you want. I think that's the question that any prospective athletic trainer getting into baseball needs to ask themselves that, because this job demands a lot of sacrifice. As we know, it's time away from family, time and effort into getting better and continuing education, et cetera. And if you can answer the question appropriately of if you're willing to sacrifice, to make the ultimate sacrifice to be able to get what you want and have a career in baseball, then that's the baseline. And then going from there, I'm firm proponent and just reach out. You got to reach out through. I mean, Dave Yeager does a great job with the internship program at PBATS, but that's always a great starting point. Try to reach out. You have to do the work. Don't expect things to just come to you. You have to go and initiate conversations, initiate relationships that could potentially provide you an in within professional baseball. So, and as we know well, it's one thing to have that in, and then it's another thing to be able to stay and to be able to continue to add value to your team. So, for me, once you get into baseball, if you're lucky enough to do that, you put in the work and the dedication and show the commitment and like, this is what I want to do, and you're willing to sacrifice, then you got to from that point on, you got to constantly find ways to stretch yourself. And really, like, ultimately what it comes down to this is you got to put in the work to get so good they can't ignore you. I know that we've tossed that phrase around a lot here, is that, and that doesn't just go for technical skills. That goes for ability to communicate, to be a great teammate. Like stretch yourself and put in the work so that somebody can recognize you and say, this person can add value to our team here. I think the easy thing to do is to get caught in a space of like, well, what can I do? Me personally, I want to get ahead. I want to do this. And I think that space can be very limiting versus the space of how can I add value to the team? So if you get land onto a particular team, now the question becomes well, how can I add value here? Not for myself to just totally, like a bull in the china shop, just I'm just going to mow down everybody to get where I want to go. That's to me, that's not a great space to come from. A more powerful space is go, what can I do in this team right here that I can add value? And basically put in the work to do so.
Yeah, that's great advice for students and anyone looking to be part of a team. We know how important that is. And taking it back to the days when you were still a student at Springfield College, did you know from the beginning that you wanted to become an athletic trainer in baseball, or did you perhaps have your sights set somewhere else? Maybe it was a different professional sports league or something like that.
Yeah. I wasn't quite. I knew I wanted to be in professional sports in one shape, in one form or another. So, but I wasn't completely sure. I was really open to keeping my possibilities open to whatever pathway. And I look back at it now, and I just feel so fortunate that it was this is the first opportunity that came up. And my goodness, I can't imagine myself in any other way. Just what I've learned and how I've grown, and the people I've met, and the people who've impacted my life, not just professionally but personally, along the way with the Diamondbacks here and in professional baseball. So. I wasn't coming out of school. I was like, I don't know, maybe baseball, basketball, football, whatever the opportunity presents itself. I wasn't trying to pigeonhole myself. I was trying to open up to whatever possibility. And this, luckily, super fortunate that this one popped up, and I wouldn't change a thing.
And shifting gears a bit, many of our guests have mentioned how important it is to continue to learn and grow, even when they reach the top of the field, like you being a head athletic trainer for the Diamondbacks. Can you talk a bit more about the importance of continuing education and just overall keeping up with the evolution of sports medicine and athletic training?
Yeah. Oh my God, Sam, this is like, I can't overstate the importance of that. Like that is, I'm always thinking like, and we talk to our younger teammates here that, if I could put it like this, if someone really wants to be considered the top of their field and they don't love the challenge to constantly learn and stretch yourself professionally, then I would say like, that person doesn't really want to be at the top of the field. Like, I feel like that's a prerequisite, like that has to be there. So, I mean, you look at the habits of any Giants, any field, any example you want to put there. You look at the Giants of that field, the sustained excellence of that level of people. I feel like it's no secret how they got there, and I always refer back to James Andrews. He as we all know him well, he's a giant in his field. And the thing that really stood out to me more than anything else is I remember seeing him at an ASMI conference, and he was literally, I mean, this is well into the success he's already built in his career. And he was at the front row of a talk that of another talk during the program. He was the front row by himself with his notebook out, taking notes, listening to the current presenter that was talking. And I'm like, if that tells you anything right there, like his success was built on his commitment to constantly learning. Even at his stage in his career, he was still learning. He was still an open book of like, what else can I do to get better? And I think I always refer back to that example because that really blew me away. And there's commonality I've seen over the years of giants in any field of like the really great ones. They share that commonality.
Yeah, that's it. That's really interesting. Obviously, Dr. James Andrews is a legend in the field, and most people, if you watch an Alabama football game or see the Tampa Bay Rays or hear about a surgery in baseball, it's Dr. Andrews, and to see him still educating himself is super powerful. Speaking of communicating with your younger teammates and staff members that you mentioned and continuing to grow, can you talk a bit about the difference between being an athletic trainer in the big leagues versus working your way up through the minor leagues, and also how impactful and important that time is in the minor leagues for your career?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the minor leagues, for at least in my experience, it was about preparation and experience and really getting to know the ins and outs of what it means to be an athletic trainer in professional baseball. And I think the minor league experience for me was super important because I learned the daily flow, what works, what doesn't work, handling responsibilities with the strength and conditioning coach together on your own and an affiliate. Handling the challenges and the scenarios that come up there, making a ton of mistakes, learning from those mistakes. That all was super, super important for me along the way. And I think the thing that helped me the most, honestly, I learned most from the failures that I had. And that was reflecting back on them going, oh, shoot, okay, I wouldn't do that again. Or, oh, I see how my error went that way. And just being able to be brutally honest with myself and going, like during that time in the minor leagues, and I still do this today of going, all right, what can I still get better here? What else can I do? And reflect and be brutally honest with myself and where I'm at. So from the difference minor league to major league, I mean, I think obviously the I guess you can put it as like the size of the bullets or the importance of the situations that come through. Although they're all important, major leagues also is kind of where everybody kind of aspires to get to, and where most if not all the attention is paid. So at least from the outward in the public and from the front office. So the minor leagues, all the experiences you build up and that I built up along the way that helped me prepare in the scenario here. And I still continue to learn every step of the way. Every situation presents its own unique challenges. So, major league side of things is it's just like the bigger environment and with now the media involved and cameras and, bigger stadiums and players and individuals at different stages of their career and how they impact the team and all of those come into the mix there. And, agents a little bit more involved, and it's a bigger field that presents another learning opportunity that if I didn't go to the minor leagues, I know I probably would have even either not been here or would have really struggled.
Yeah. And Ryan, you talked about learning what it means to be an athletic trainer in baseball from your work in the minor leagues. And interestingly, our past few guests, Ben Potenziano, Corey Tremble, they said the same thing, just learning how the organization works, learning what to do, what not to do. Those growing pains are hugely important. And one thing that our listeners have asked is they're very interested in hearing from you about the athletic trainer relationships within the entire organization. So first off, I think everyone would love to hear about the head athletic trainer's relationship with the players. Can you expand a bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's relationships are huge. Ultimately when it comes down to it, if you really want to strip it down, it's like we're dealing with people, and that really goes to like any field that we have to communicate with it. Communication is a two-way street, and any field that involves communication, you're dealing with people. So I think the one of the things that I've learned that is just super important is just maintaining really strong relationships as best you can with the players. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them during the course of the year and even in the day as well. So from a head athletic training standpoint, I see my role as just to make sure that first off, the players know that they can place their trust within us, that we're committed to we're very clear in our commitments to them. So, and I don't know if I'm sure we've had a conversation before, Sam, but like from a Diamondbacks perspective, like our vision, and we tell them this from day one of camp, and our vision, we're committed to enhancing human performance, and our mission every day from a Diamondbacks perspective is we want to be the best sports medicine team on the planet. And what does that involve? Like that involves a host of different things, of different qualities that we commit ourselves to. It's development, it's excellence, it's accountability, loyalty, work ethic, integrity, trust, honesty, intercommunication, and team ability. That's what we commit to on a daily basis for them. And it's one thing to be able to say things to them, but I think people are going to feel who you're being. And I think like from a head athletic trainer standpoint, if you're consistent in who you're being every day with them, and they know what the expectations are, and they know they can trust you, and they know that you're going to you're competent, you can make sound decisions for them and for the good of the organization. I think that's a really crucial foundation to have when you're developing any relationships with a player.
And you spoke about becoming the best sports medicine team in the world. We know you have a huge role within the Diamondbacks organization, managing the athletic training staff at the big league level. What's it like working with such a big team at the highest level and handling communication and staying on the same page with your staff?
Yeah, absolutely. And that mission for us is like, who knows if it's attainable or measurable, who knows, but that's something that we like, hey, when we approach our day, when we show up to work, like that's who we want to be. And that's what, so just a little elaboration on that. From a communication standpoint, that's a daily commitment for me personally. And Ken was such a great mentor for this because he does it so well, and I was able to learn from him at this particular level. But it's crucial. Communication is absolutely crucial, making sure everybody's on the same page. My personal responsibility on a daily basis is I feel like at times it's like an air traffic controller. Like there are a lot of planes landing. I want to make sure that whatever department needs a certain bit of information, I need to be able to provide that for them. The worst thing in the world, and I would be fail at my job if I was leaving people in the dark, or if I was not setting expectations with players, with fellow sports medicine performance teammates, with pitching staff, hitting staff. Like I need to be able to give them as much information they need to be able to do their job well. So it's serving them. So staying on the same page is a daily commitment. I'm always reassessing that in my mind. Okay, did I fill in so-and-so with enough information that they need? Okay, is this particular situation getting a little off track? I'm taking the responsibility to go, what can I do to try to get this situation back on track? What communication do I have to provide for one of my teammates, or one of the players, or one of the staff members, or maybe I have to sit down with everybody in the same room and let's talk this through and solve this together. So those are like, it's a constant. Even in the off season, it's constant. So I mean that's at least my commitment and what I try to bring to the table every single day.
And you mentioned that you have a ton of information that needs to get out to your major league staff each day and every week and just throughout the season. But as you move further down through your organization, the scale of communication must get even larger. So how do you go about communicating with the many affiliates and coordinators in the minor leagues as well?
Yeah, that's so Kelly Boyce. We were so lucky. We have Kelly Boyce as our minor league medical coordinator, and our relationship needs to be like really good. We have that commitment, and she's excellent. I mean, she has the best handle on. She is the direct go-to for all our younger affiliate athletic trainers, and so a lot of the information that we have to make sure that we're on the same page at all times. So whatever messaging gets down, or whatever we commit to as a complete organization, as a complete sports medicine team, that we're living that too. So from an affiliate standpoint, the way we set up our system is from a chain of communication that goes from the affiliates to Kelly Boyce to myself at the major league level. And then what I try to do as well is really commit to trying to reach out to the affiliate staff throughout the course of the year just to check in. And I think that's a big deal too, because it shows, it's easy what I've seen, and I'm not always perfect at it. And it seems very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day at the major league level and ignoring that, hey, these my minor league affiliate teammates are grinding as well. And they're putting in, they're busting their tail throughout the year, and to be able to communicate with them and to make sure that they're getting what they need, and how I can help them as well, and reserve time for that and commit to time for that is very important for showing that we care, that I care immensely for them, and that I'm here to serve them as well.
Then lastly, many of our listeners are sports fans, and we always hear about medical reviews and trades that are pending physicals and things of that nature. And you also previously mentioned the media being involved at the big league level and the importance there. I'm interested to learn more about how communication works between the athletic training and performance staff and the front office when it comes to important things like the draft and trades and signings. Could you elaborate a little bit on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So my job, our job as a sports medicine performance team, is really to provide the most accurate and usable information for the front office to make the best and most informed decision for the sake of the organization. That's to boil it down into that. So when a medical review or trade comes through, we're able to view the records. We'll kind of get an assessment on okay, just based off of the singular data point here of their file. What kind of history do they have? And we usually have some kind of a rating system that will kind of provide the information to the front office based off of that. And that holds true with trades as well, and signings. And it's essentially, we're trying to gather as much information to determine what's this player, who could we be inheriting here. And obviously our lens and what we specialize in is the medical side. So let's arm the front office with as much information as possible to make an informed decision. And there's still a lot of there's limitations with that model, as we know, because once you get in-house here and you actually get your hands on a person, that changes the element. Obviously from a work ethic, character standpoint, that changes the element. There's a lot of other variables that you don't quite pick up from just looking at a file. So we're like investigators. We try to gather as much info as possible, within reason, and obviously respecting the HIPAA and legality process of it, to be able to paint the best picture for the front office on who we could be inheriting here, and the risk level that we could be inheriting. So, and our entire team, it's a staff that does that. That's not me. That's Ben Hager, our physical therapist. Ken's involved, Max Esposito, Kelly Boyce. We all take part in that in system, and together we come together as a group and go, okay, this is what we think. It's not just one person giving their opinion, because we feel like the more heads involved that are in line and thinking the same thing, the better. So.
And we talked about the value of having such an amazing staff in Arizona with people like Ben, Max, Kelly, Ken, and everybody over there. I think a lot of our listeners who are students would love to know what types of people you guys look for to join your organization, whether it's the most skilled athletic trainer, someone with tons of experience, someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to grind it out to make it in the game. Can you elaborate a bit on the types of people and the character traits you look for when hiring either full-time positions or interns in the game? Absolutely, yeah, and we'll give a shout out to John Hersner too, who is our head with the internship program called Next Gen, which we've created here. So he's usually our conduit with any young interns that we're bringing in. But we have a system that we've developed over the years, and we're always tweaking to try to get it better. But if I had to boil it down, I think who we look for, there's really three key areas, and I'm just speaking for myself here in terms of what I look for. But all of us from a sports medicine performance team, from the major league side all the way down to one of our first year hires, we're all involved in this process. So when we're the powers and the numbers, and when we interview interns or prospective hires, we want to do this as a group. And a lot of times, anybody that's maybe listening now that's maybe been interviewed us, they kind of know, we run them through a gauntlet of several interviews, because we want to get the best perspective from multiple days and situations. We want to just get a good perspective on the hire. And so that takes a lot of commitment and time involved from our sense, but we feel like it's well placed because we're a culture of leadership development, and we're always looking for the next potential person in our organization that's going to lead this organization from an athletic training standpoint down the road. So part of my job is to be able to prepare the next person to take my job, and then the person after, and then whoever's in the assistant role, they're prepared to take the next person to prepare them. Kelly's
big part of her job is prepare the next person to take her job and so forth. So we're all involved in this. So who we look for from a hire or an internship standpoint, to break it down into three things: work ethic, communication, and aptitude for me. Work ethic can never be questioned. It's if there's any hint of like maybe this person doesn't give their great effort or full effort all the time, and they like to cut corners, it's not going to work for us. Communication standpoint, that can be a tricky thing sometimes for young professionals and young individuals who haven't really been through a lot, but they're just the ability to be able to articulate your thoughts well, and to be able to just have some kind of depth of thought, and to be able to hold conversations with people that you can actually listen well. Like a big part of communication is the ability to listen well, in my opinion. And then finally, aptitude. The ability to pick things up quickly, like they have to have the drive, obviously, like a burning desire to get better and to continue to in every facet of themselves. But also the aptitude's a big deal. One of the bigger deals for me, because they're able to, the ones that we see really take off are the ones that can pick things up quickly, and not everybody, some people just inherently can do that, and other people need to put in the work. It doesn't really matter as long as what you need to do to pick up whatever you're learning and whatever is being taught to you. If you can pick that up quickly, then you really have an advantage. So, and then like above all else, Sam, like what kind of teammate are you? This is a team. This is none of us do this individually. We all do this together. We're part of a bigger picture here when we're athletic trainers with the sports medicine performance team in with the Diamondbacks. So one of the biggest deals too is what kind of teammate are you? We would rather take a person that a first-year hire that is maybe not as skilled, maybe not as experienced, but man, do they work? Do they communicate well? Do they look like they have a high ceiling that they can learn? And they're just great teammates, and they set a great example over the one that's maybe the most skilled and the smartest person in the room, but they're not very good teammates. So that's kind of break it down.
That's extremely useful information for all students out there looking to get into the game, and clearly shows the importance of being overall a good person and an even better teammate, just like with sports. Taking it back kind of on that same note to sports, you mentioned your upbringing and playing as many sports as possible. So shifting gears a bit to another passion of yours, a lot of people that know you on a personal level know that you're a huge basketball fan and love to play as much as you can. So one unique part about your job is you get to know people who work for other professional sports teams and the opportunity to know those folks in your area. So you've had the opportunity to play in some NBA arenas. I have to ask, what's your favorite NBA arena you've played in for a pickup game?
Hey, Sam, we still got to get together and hope. We haven't done that yet. I know we talk about it a bunch, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's I've always loved playing and super, really, really fortunate. Like Torey Lavello, our manager, loves to play too, and he really brings this whole thing together. So it's really, he's really the in on it. So we've been fortunate to play like some of the places that have stood out of the Timberwolves, Warriors, Bulls. I mean, they practice facilities for those have been really fun. It's really top notch. And our communications and media department that work for the Diamondbacks, they've helped us tremendously over the years too, with Pat O'Connell and Patrick Kirsch, who's now with the Pirates, and Casey Wilcox. They've reached out a ton and helped us along the way to establish connections. But to be a favorite, it actually wasn't in the NBA. I think the favorite for me was Fog Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas. That was pretty special. I mean, to be able to play in the main court on that with all of our staff and with Torey and the coaches and all that, like it's really, that was something I'll never forget. And we still every year we still try to find new places and develop new relationships, and it's really a cool thing that really brings us all together and during the season for sure, away from the field.
Yeah, that's something that's really special. Obviously, Fog Allen is a legendary place, so I couldn't imagine what it's like being in there. On a similar note, we know athletic training in pro sports is such a unique position to be in and an opportunity as well. Outside of your communication with PBATS members and MLB athletic trainers, how often do you communicate with other athletic trainers in, for example, the NBA, the NFL, NHL, or other sports leagues? Do you have a lot of communication with those athletic trainers in those leagues and for the reason of learning and growing in different areas?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to reach out and establish those connections as much as possible. It gets crazy in the season, obviously, and obviously trying to respect their their space too, and what they have to do from their own professional standpoint. But we try to do that as best we can. And it's sometimes it's Ben reaching out has a better connection with the Suns. Sometimes Ken has a great one with the Cardinals, and then we all bring it into our team here. And I think that's an important thing in reaching out and establishing connections and other perspectives and other teams, because you can really learn so much from other sports. Like, a good friend with the 70, I have a good friend with the 76ers that I reached out quite a bit, and we just trade ideas and talk shop and we exchange ideas and like, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, you see more ankle injuries than we do. Like what kind of, how would you approach that with your guy? And it's really just a forum for learning and sharing. And it's a no brainer for me. And I know we could do more of that too, and reach out even more, and to try to establish those connections, because it's there's so much to unearth, so much new concepts and perspectives to unearth from high quality professionals in other sports.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, the kind of the knowledge sharing that goes on along all the professional sports. It's really cool to see. I appreciate you sharing all that information. Really good stories and insight for athletic training students, professors, and professionals as well. To wrap up today's episode, we're going to finish with a quick Q&A segment that we call Extra Bases. So I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions, and you'll share some insight into your favorite things about athletic training in baseball. So we'll start off at first base. What is your favorite athletic training room to work in the big leagues?
Outside of our own, which obviously there's always comfort in knowing your own space, but outside of our own, I was been really impressed by the newer kind of establishments, the newer stadiums that have been built up. Atlanta and Texas are fantastic. Like they did a really good job putting that together. Some of the other ones that stand out, like the New York teams, New York Mets and Yankees, have really great space in their training room. So I think space and updated I guess equipment and things like those things all factor in. So those are some of the places that stand out to me.
That's interesting. You say Atlanta. We've had 3 of our 4 guests have had the same answer with the Atlanta Braves. So they must be doing something right down there.
They did a great job there. Yeah.
And moving on to second base, kind of a similar question here. You have a very unique vantage point for games. You're one of the few non-players in the dugout during Major League Baseball games. So what is your favorite stadium to watch a game from the dugout?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, bias aside, with my Boston ties, but I tend to lean toward a nostalgic sense. So I think Boston and the Cubs are really the 2 places to me. It's just they're so unique. It's just, you don't see, like, from the vantage point of the dugout and looking at the history of each of those parks and what they look like, and the crowd behind the teams. It's really special places. Those are really fun. St. Louis is another one that's really good. San Fran usually has a really good crowd, but hopefully we can get to that point with the Diamondbacks. I know one of the younger teams across the league, but hopefully in the years to come we can establish something like that.
Yeah, that's I think a very common answer, both those, the Cubs and the Red Sox. Just the history and also the stadium being parked right there in the middle of the city is a really unique opportunity. On those same lines, headed to third base here, might have the same answer, but you let me know, what's your favorite city to visit on the road and why?
Yeah, you know me well, Sam. So that's
Boston.
Boston for sure. Boston for sure is that's where my roots are, and those are. It's all my family's still back there, so it's always really fun to go back there. But outside of that one, I mean, I always, for some reason, Philadelphia, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Philadelphia's, for some reason, I like going there. City feel to it. San Diego's a great place out on the West Coast. I love going to San Diego. Colorado's very unique. Those are some other places that are on the road cities that I really love to enjoy, and I really enjoy and love to explore.
That's great. And heading to home plate here, did you have a welcome to the big leagues moment at some point during the first few years as an athletic trainer in Major League Baseball?
It's a good question. I mean, some of the things that pop into mind, they don't do it anymore for the anti-hazing side of things, but there used to be a rookie initiation that stood out to me that when my first year and I was taking part in, but I was, I took part, I was included in the rookie bucket with the players. So one of the things, I think it was maybe JJ Putz at the time, organized, we had to go to Chaparral High School and learn a cheerleading routine with the Chaparral cheerleading squad and put together like a choreographed set. And then we had to display it in front of the camp. So, and then, so that was one that stood out to me. That was like, people not in baseball, those are the fun things that you can obviously get to do. But that was a memorable one for me. Obviously the rookie flights, they don't quite do those anymore. Where you have costume themed, you dress up and you have some fun with that. But I think one of the other things too is JJ Putz, who was one of the obviously leaders of the clubhouse at the time of my first year, just reaching out and buying a full out suit for me, which I thought was like, man, wow, this is how it is in the big leagues. Huh? They'll literally, they'll do this for you, which you don't see in many other places. It was super generous for him. I'll never forget that. And, outside of those things, I think honestly, just running, being on opening day on the line with the announcements, having the flyover and really first running out onto the field for the first time, having, to address something on the field in a major league stadium with everybody watching, I think was something that's like, oh shoot. Okay. This is what it's like. It was a unique experience.
That's really interesting. You mentioned those are some great stories, and Ben Potenziano, our guest on episode 1, actually talked about the same experience, kind of dressing up and getting on the rookie flight and doing all that stuff. But hazing is not what he used to be, but still very cool to have those relationships as a newcomer in the clubhouse. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for joining the show, sharing all that valuable information with our listeners. We really appreciate your time and your dedication to PBATS and the profession of athletic training. And we hope to have you on again soon.
I appreciate it a ton, Sam. Thank you so much. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity to contribute here.
And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society, a show for athletic training students, educators, and professionals who want to learn more about life as an athletic trainer in major and minor league baseball. If you've enjoyed the show, head over to pbats.com to gain access to other free resources. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks again for listening.